This episode of the QA is brought to you by Lucky Shot. It is the end of the month, which means it is time for the QA. Thank you guys very much for spending a few minutes of your day joining me, whether you are watching this on your screen, watching this on the toilet, listening to me in the car, or whatever. I'm glad to have you with me. You've got a Q, I've got an A, so come on down to the Q&A. No, never mind. That was an old thing from, well, a few of you might recognize that. Maybe I'll explain it in another video. When I was talking about way back when doing QAs, I had a name. And it's hard to believe that we are coming up on, well, it's been over 2 years. We did our first QA, I believe, in February of 2018. Maybe we did one sooner. I'll have to double check. But so yeah, been kind of cool. And obviously it's, not our most viewed segment, but I do feel that you guys are like the inner circle of the viewers. You guys are very loyal and a lot of regular watchers, regular viewers, so I do appreciate it. So enough chit chat, let's get to it. Do a little comment cleanup. Talking about comments from the last QA, you can always leave your comments down below, but the best way to get your questions on the show is, of course, to email us. The email address is shown below. It is theqa@gunsandtactics.com. Email, it comes to me, I add it to the notes. If you leave a comment, I try to catch up with all comments, but sometimes I do miss them, so please, please, please email. However, if you do leave a comment, try to leave it. Like this one's from Charles. Hi. I recently purchased a Landtac SF LR 15 and 22. It used all customized, and that's it. So I'm not sure what your comment was, Charles, but looks cool. Bob would like a gun tool video. He works in the aerospace industry, just normal gunsmithing tools and professional hands. Professional hands. I guess technically I probably would be a professional. Yeah. One of the things that I try to do, so I do some gunsmithing. I have a small gun shop. You're looking at my small gun shop. This is where I do obviously my videos. This is where I do repairs. This is where I do some sales, service, stuff like that. So it is a small shop. And again, the shop tour video, I've gotten a few requests on it, but it's not, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Dustin, if you're watching this, you can put a comment in. Dustin actually came to visit and he came out and he's like, hey, this is where it happens. And then where's the rest of it? But it's like, this is it. There's some milling machines and tools and stuff over there, and then tools and whatnot. But it's not a very big space. So I don't know, maybe someday. And I'm a little, I don't know. I don't have like a cool pad or a garage or like a man cave type thing to kind of tour everybody through. Someday I'd like to get there. But anyways, speaking of the tools, I guess the idea is that for example, I just did some pinning of gas blocks for a customer. I did a repair to a grip screw. He stripped, the stupid fly. Sorry about that. He stripped out the grip screw on his lower receiver. And I thought I probably should have recorded like the repair of that. And it's not that I'm like trying to, prevent me from like, getting work or whatever. I'm busy enough between videos and teaching and all sorts of other stuff that I don't need, more guns repairs coming in. But I thought that would be kind of a cool video of like, hey, what do you do if you strip this? And I probably should have recorded it because it's not a hard repair. It just takes time and, a little bit of experience in cleaning up threads and things like that. So yeah, it would be kind of cool to do stuff like that and maybe kind of show some more of the tools, like even the vise fixtures. And actually one of the questions we have coming up is about a vise. So maybe that would kind of tie into some of that gun tools, not only the vise, but also some really, really common things that I use with the vise, for working on different types of firearms. So yeah, that'd be cool. Dahut clicked on the video because he thought a Canadian was reviewing the rifle from Q, the QA. I'm not Canadian, but I'm close. I am in northern Minnesota. I do work with some great Canadians. They're good people. I don't know. Some people tell me I have a Canadian accent. I don't hear it, but that's just me. AR-22, he's interested in the POF Rebel. Yeah, it does look cool, man. I'm really curious too. I'd love to get one for review. So POF, if you're watching and want to send me one, that'd be awesome. All right, another comment from Andrew. As far as what kind of new content, any shotgun content? Yeah, I think shotgun would be kind of cool. It would be kind of cool to revisit it. And if you ever watched my old channel, I did a pawn shop shotgun series with Trevor, and we never finished. Well, we finished it. We just never made the last video. So like on that old channel, I get comments all the time like, where's part 5? Where's part 5? So maybe we'll do a part 5 and then kind of maybe post a link or something. But that was kind of a cool series. I'll post a link to the first 4 videos. But basically the premise was we took a pawn shop shotgun and we remade it into more of a tactical shotgun or a patrol type shotgun. But yeah, that'd be kind of neat. And then a comparison video between the Voodoo 22 and the Bergara B14. I don't think that's a bad idea. And I've shot against Bergaras at matches. Actually, the recent match that I shot at was, there was a bunch of Bergaras there and they look like nice rifles. So I'd be really curious how they kind of hold up long term. But, you know, I still love my Voodoo. I'm biased, I'm not gonna lie. I love my Voodoo. But I would be interested to checking out, you know, what the competition's like. RimX looks like they're really making nice stuff. Ultimatum is going to be coming out with, I don't know if they've actually released it or not, but they announced their rimfire action. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. 2020 SHOT Show was a lot of rimfire stuff. All right, and I commented back on, you know, a few of the other stuff, so I don't have to read them all, but I try to respond to all the comments. I try to go through there, again, email, all that other stuff. So that is all the comment cleanup. Let's get to it. Number one is from Kevin. In your experience, what's the best overall length for the safety selector spring on an AR to give acceptable detent action, yet still allow for smooth operation? Smooth operator. Sorry. All right. There's a wide variance in safety selector overall length. The old school police officers insist that the longer, but the problem is female police officers can't operate it, it's too stiff. Old school state that women should not be allowed to use an AR, they can operate it. Women seem to operate it okay depending on the... Okay, so here's what he's talking about. The spring, your little safety selector on your AR. Inside there, what makes it kind of go from click to click is a detent and a spring. And what he's talking about is basically different tolerances on the market or different manufacturers that spring. I've even seen it in different lower parts kits where I just have, you know, I put them in my parts bin and all of a sudden I've noticed like, yeah, some are like maybe a millimeter or two shorter or longer than the other. Obviously a longer spring is going to have more tension. Some people do clip them. You know, I don't necessarily recommend clipping springs because you could have issues with that. However, some people do it, you know, if they notice that safety is really tough to manipulate. So some of the things that kind of lead up to that. What is the overall length? I don't have the measurement. I could grab maybe a caliper and measure some and, you know, get in touch with you. However, I think part of it is the detent. When detents are new, they're sharp. They're obviously going to have more engagement from when they get round down a little bit. So I had one customer bring in a gun, AR, super stiff selector. What I did was I just took the detent out, rounded the nose or the tip of the detent a little bit so it was a little smoother getting in and out of position. That's one option you can do. You can clip coils. Again, you got to be careful because you do want to make sure there's still enough engagement so that the safety selector doesn't move on its own. The other thing you might want to look at though is upgrading a selector. Some of the issue is not just the spring but also the selector. If the selector recesses or the detent recesses where the detents kind of recess in are deeper than others, that's going to make it tougher, and sometimes the leverage. So I really like Battle Arms Development. I really like JP selectors. Radian selectors are super nice too. All of those are going to be significant upgrades versus a mil-spec selector. You can get them in ambi options, which even as a right-handed shooter, I love running an ambi selector because it's easier for me to manipulate. Safety to fire, fire to safe. If I have to shoot offhand or whatever, I highly recommend an ambi selector. It just makes life a lot easier, and that might make it easier for your, you know, smaller hand shooters. And it could be male or female. There's people come in different shapes and sizes, and being able to manipulate that safety is very important. I like the leverage that I can get with like the Battle Arms, for example, or the JP, the larger lever. It just gives you options. So I would I would recommend that. And his last comment was, obviously the quality control on this AR commodity is complete garbage, so it varies. And yes, everything right now, man, is nuts again. It's crazy. There's a lot of variance between company A, company B, company C. So yeah, I hope that helps. If you want to drop me on another line, if that's not enough information you're looking for, maybe we can talk offline and kind of go from there. So number two, this one is from Peter. I'm currently setting up my home gun shop. Wondered if you could recommend a good vice for gun repairs. Love the show. Congrats on the weight loss. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. It's been a while. And man, this year has been rough on me. I have certainly gained some pandemic pounds that I'm noticing on camera, like when I'm editing, you know, B-roll from older videos or whatever. So I'm going to try to get back into it, watch what I eat, be a little more active. And yeah, man, this year, I tell you, I tell you. Good gun vice. You know, in some of my videos, I just use I'll get some B-roll of the vices that I use, but it's a pipe type vice, I believe is what they call it. What I like about it is not only is it able to rotate, but I can also tilt, so I can, you know, really control the work, you know, so I can rotate the vice where I need it, tighten it down, but then I can also tilt the work to be a little more advantageous for me, whether I'm stippling or whether I'm, you know, doing upper receiver work, lower receiver work, whatever. Just being able to move and manipulate the vice to make it so I don't have to fight the vice or fight where I'm, you know, putting the equipment makes life a lot easier. I've got one of them at Menards, which is like a local hardware store. I think they're nationwide, but I know for sure they're in the Midwest. Otherwise, I got this one at Home Depot, and they're both very similar styles of vices. The heads rotate and tilt, like I said. So I would look at something like that versus a traditional, you know, shop vice. Having that tilting head feature it really makes life a lot easier. So I would look at that. A good heavy duty vice, get some soft jaws, and then, like I said, I think a vice fixture video is probably worthy of itself because I have a drawer full of stuff that basically just goes in the vice. Number 3. This one is from Michael. I have a question about hearing protection. I have the standard over the ear muffs, but there are times when the outer muffs interfere with various types of shooting. Any recommendations? Yes, the auto micro are amazing. They're an in-ear electronic ear protection. I've been using them for the last several months, if not close to a year. I do have a review video coming out. I just got to edit it. I'm probably going to be putting that out maybe this month in November, something like that. They are awesome. Downside is they're not cheap. They're about $400. If you shoot a lot, I think it's well worth it because I use them all the time at the range, but they're amazing, actually. They're in the bag over there, but they don't interfere. I can put them underneath a beanie or a stocking cap, so cold weather, whatever. They're absolutely awesome. Now, if the price is not an option, yes, that's electronic in-ear hearing protection. I would look at getting some custom molded earplugs made. If you search for custom molded earplugs, they have kits. You can get online, you heat this stuff up, you put it in your ear, and it kind of cools down. In my opinion, they are way more comfortable than like the foamies or the other style or like the screw type earplugs on the market. So I like those custom ones. Otherwise, if there's an audiologist near you that does the work, they actually can do that as well. And last time I've had a set done, it was around $40 or $50. And I like those. Again, I have a few sets of the custom molded earplugs in my bag as well. They work great. I like those a lot better. There is other styles, like Surefire makes their Defender style earplug as well that you can add comms and stuff like that. But the reality is, if I'm gonna wear earplugs, it's either a custom molded non-electronic earplug or it's gonna be the in-ear electric from Auto, which again are amazing. I think they're worth the money. Before we answer our next question, let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Lucky Shot. And actually, I'm drinking coffee this morning. I don't have a Lucky Shot coffee glass. I gotta look to see if they have one. But anyways, if you're looking for really cool glassware for the cool dude or lady in your life, whether it's a gift, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, a bachelor, bachelorette party, or a just because gift, or you just want to give yourself something nice, check out the glassware from Lucky Shot. They have all sorts of cool stuff, and it has real, safe rounds in it for that really cool conversation starter, that cool look for the shooter in your life. I know I enjoy my Lucky Shot glassware when I'm having a fine beverage, and like I said, I got to check to see if they have something for the coffee. But I've given them away as gifts. People love it. And it just looks cool, again, for the shooter in your life. And if you're interested in purchasing, you can also go ahead and use the coupon code shown on the screen to save yourself a little bit of cash. Go ahead and check out their webpage, pick something out for yourself while you're at it, pick something out as a gift. I think you will be very happy with the quality of product that you're getting from Lucky Shot. Again, thank you to Lucky Shot for sponsoring this episode of the QA. All right, number 4 is from Paul. What do you use to bore sight a new gun / scope in with? What tools do you use to level your scope? One of the videos that I am going to be doing upcoming here is how to mount a scope. It's something that I get questions on all the time, especially as we're seeing more LPVOs in the patrol rifle space. I do get questions of like, hey, how do I mount this thing properly? Because it is important to be level. The tool that I use the most is the Arisaka Scope Leveler. Love that thing. That's just an amazing tool. You can also use feeler gauges to kind of shim in there and level it. That's assuming you have flat bottom and a flat scope base. Otherwise, you can use a plumb bob. Now, what I personally do is I will use the Arisaka. First things first, I will level the gun in the vise, Make sure that the gun is level. I'll use a precision machinist level to do so. Then I'll use the Arisaka leveler to level the scope, and then I do have a plumb bob that I put outside, and I verify that when I do my tracking test, basically turning the reticle up and down, that it stays in alignment with that plumb bob, making sure everything is good. I've had it before where I was, setting up a precision rimfire gun, and I noticed that, oh man, this is just a few degrees. And once I started to figure out like what the math would be as I was dialing up or down, that would send my round. So it's really, really important that your gun is level and the scope is in alignment with that. So when you're dialing up, it's straight up and down, not going one way or the other. What do I use to bore sight? Truth be told, I just kind of use the redneck method. I will set the gun in the vise. I will look down the bore. I'll take the bolt out, whether it's a bolt action gun or an AR or whatever. And then I will aim looking through the barrel at a object that I think is like 40 yards down my property there. So I'll aim that. Looks really good. And then I will align the scope to that. I've never not been on paper. So I'm always on paper at 50 or 100 yards using that method. I know there are lasers, but the problem is during the bright daylight, it's tough to see the laser out there because I like to do it at a little bit of distance. I could do it on the wall, but that's not really the point. There is those bore sighting things that go in the bore, and then you have that there, which are fine. But honestly, the redneck method for me just works fine. Align, look through the bore, the actual bore, pick an object like a knot on a tree or whatever is safe for you, a doorknob, something like that, and then align the reticle to the appropriate spot. Again, I've always been on paper. I usually shoot 1 or 2 rounds to verify, dial, and then I go to my zeroing distance. So that's what I use. With ARs, truth be told, I don't do any bore sighting. And I know some people have looked at me crazy, but I've never had an AR not be on paper at 25 yards. I've just never had it. I'm not kidding you, hundreds of optics that I've mounted and helped people zero over the years, working at a gun shop, another different gun shop, working here, working at a range, whatever. I've never had one not be on paper. So I put the optic together, whatever. I've always had access to a 25-yard range. I go shoot, I make my adjustments. Like I said, I'm on paper at 25, make the adjustments, and then I can go ahead and zero at either 50 or 100, depending on what the reticle and optic is optimized for. So that's that question answered, probably way too much, but yeah. All right, this one is from Thomas, also being in Minnesota, southern part of the state. Hey, nice to hear from another fellow Minnesotan. He's locked down to shotgun-only deer zones. I've heard a few things are in the works. First, Minnesota has accepted the new Bushmaster 450 in shotgun-only zones. And if so, what do you think of that round? Honestly, man, I have not hunted for years. I'm like a horrible person to ask when it comes to hunting stuff because I'm out of the loop. Now, I know shotgun zones, generally you were able to either do shotgun or pistol, so that's how people were getting away with like AR pistols and stuff. I don't know what the DNR has done with that, but here's what I would encourage you to do is reach out to your local DNR conservation officer. One of the new things that the DNR started doing is they started changing their schedule so they're available to answer questions. You can also check out the DNR hunting regulations, which is online on the Minnesota DNR page, so you can see what's actually legal for your zone. And then you can check with a conservation officer because they're going to be the ones that are enforcing this action and see if pistol, calibers, what are accepted, what are not, or if it's truly shotgun only. And as far as the Bushmaster 450, I don't have a ton of experience with it. The guys that I've talked to that use those larger rounds like the SOCOM, the Bushmaster, whatever, they seem to like them. However, I don't have a ton of trigger time with them, so I don't want to give you bad info. Yeah, and I should have probably done more research for you. Maybe I'll try to do that in the future, but I don't have a ton of good feedback because I haven't really shot them. If generally speaking, for me, I'm pretty fortunate that when I do get to go deer hunting up here, it's rifle, so I just use a rifle. But otherwise, I have shot several deer back in the day with 12 gauge Sabo slugs, and they've worked just fine for that. But yeah, I wish I had more info for you, but I do appreciate the kind words, and I'll try to keep up the good work. Last question is from Jesus. Hey, Tim, what do you recommend? Well, first off, my name's Dave, but the last name, so you're half right. What do you recommend for an AR magwell that is undersized? I'm having an issue with a BCM lower that doesn't let PMag Gen 3 drop free. These mags drop free in all my other lowers, but BCM said that the lower was within mil spec. What should I do? Dude, I get it. That sucks, and I've had lowers that had issues with PMags. So here's the thing. Technically, BCM is probably right. If their lower is within the blueprint, which was made for a standard Staneg metal mag, which I don't have one. I have a bunch of PMags here. They're right. It's probably within the blueprint of the tolerances. So if it drops and functions with metal USGI type mags, that's what mil spec is all designed around. Is a PMag a little bit bigger? Yes, as you're noticing. I've had lowers myself that did not drop PMags well. What did I ultimately do? I got rid of them. And I know that sucks. And especially right now, times are tough. Lowers are like tough to find, high priced, whatever. Maybe you have this registered as an SBR. I know that sucks. So we'll go over a couple of options. Number one, you could replace the lower. I have BCM lowers. I have several in the fleet that I manage that all function with PMags just fine. So I do think it could be a generational thing. Maybe they've changed that as they've upgraded. I know their flared magwell version of their forged lower handles PMags just fine. I have no issues with those. We have several and they work. So you could look at replacing the lower. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Okay, I get that. But you have to kind of figure out, is it worth this hassle or not? In normal times, a lower receiver is like 150 bucks at most. So, it's not like the end of the world and you can sell your other one. The other option is the general rule of gunsmithing is you modify the cheapest part. So obviously a magazine is cheaper than a lower receiver. So you could figure out where the mag is catching. You can either see on the mag where the wear is, or you could actually just put some Sharpie marker on here and go ahead and do some magazine drills to kind of see where exactly the wear marks are. And then you could take a very fine sandpaper and just slowly start cleaning up and almost kind of buffing that area, if you will, so that way the mags start to drop free. And I should probably have prefaced this with, do USGI mags drop free? Like, is everything else working as it should? Just make sure that the mag catch is functioning. You can adjust the tension on the mag catch as well, but that's kind of your options. It's either look at replacing the lower, look at modifying the mags, swapping mags, using different mags, using metal mags. There's nothing wrong with metal mags, man. I have hundreds of metal mags and they work just fine. Yes, I like PMags and they work awesome too. But magazine is a perishable item. They don't last forever, so don't get attached to them. They have a shelf life, and that's why you're supposed to buy them cheap, stack them deep, which during right now, crazy times, can't do that. So I hope that helps. If you have any more questions, don't be afraid to follow up with me. Again, guys, if you want to see your question on the show, the best way to reach me is theqa@gunsandtactics.com. Go ahead, send your email to the address shown below to get your questions on the show, and of course, one lucky asker gets a prize. Speaking of which, let's do our random number generator. All right, and random number generator gave us number 4, which is from Paul. So yeah, Paul, I'll be getting in touch with you to get your shipping address, and we'll go ahead and get a prize from Lucky Shot your way. I hope you found the content helpful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Obviously, the more views we get, the more likes we get, the more subscribers we get, the more things we're able to do as a challenge. Check out all of our other content. Follow us online. Check us out on social media. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great day. We work really hard to make content that we hope you as a shooter would enjoy. Subscribe to our channel, check out our featured videos and playlists, and if you have a question firearms related, go ahead and send an email to the address shown on the screen to be entered into our monthly QA series.